In the frigid winter of 208 AD, along the treacherous, muddy banks of the formidable Yangtze River, two colossal armies positioned themselves for what would become a defining moment in military history, the Battle of Red Cliffs. This confrontation was not merely a straightforward clash of steel and strategy. It transcended the battlefield. According to ancient Chinese beliefs, the very elements of nature had taken sides in this monumental struggle, and a mystical curse was poised to alter the fate of an empire forever. Imagine the scene. The most formidable warlord in all of China, Cao Cao, commanded an army of nearly 800,000 disciplined troops, ready to obliterate any opposition and consolidate control over the fractured realm under his steely rule. His naval fleet, sprawling across the Yangtze, resembled a floating metropolis ships bound together into an unyielding wall of wood and bronze. Victory appeared not just plausible, but inevitable. Yet within mere days, this seemingly unstoppable armada would be reduced to naught but smoke and ashes, devoured by flames that danced with an eerie precision. Thus unfolds the epic narrative of the Battle of Red Cliffs, a tale where ancient Chinese mysticism collided with raw military strength, and where the delicate balance of nature ultimately determined the destiny of a civilization. By the year 208 AD, China was engulfed in turmoil. The illustrious Han dynasty, which had held sway for nearly 4 centuries, was fragmenting like sandcastles beneath the relentless tide. Ambitious regional warlords poised themselves like wolves over a carcass, each claiming legitimacy, while the true emperor remained a mere marionette, hidden away in his palace. Among these unscrupulous generals, one name inspired dread: Cao Cao, the chancellor of Han. He was no ordinary warlord. He had methodically crushed insurgencies, absorbing their armies into his own burgeoning war machine. By the time winter settled in, Cao commanded all of northern China, his forces so vast that the ground shook under the relentless march of his legions for miles around. Ancient historians depicted his army as a ravenous black tide, voraciously consuming everything in its path. Villages lay abandoned in his wake, and rivers ran crimson from the bloodshed he left behind. Yet Cao Cao's insatiable thirst for conquest was far from quenched. Northern China was merely a prelude. His true ambition lay south across the Yangtze, in the opulent, fertile lands ruled by rival warlords Liu Bei and son Quan. Liu Bei, claimed to be the rightful heir to the Han legacy, exuded an idealistic vision of restoring the glory of the dynasty. His followers viewed him as a benevolent leader, genuinely concerned for the welfare of the common folk. Conversely, son Quan, the youthful overlord of the prosperous Jiangdong region, embodied a pragmatic spirit. Inherited wealth and naval power characterized his domain. While Liu Bei inspired loyalty through his noble intentions, son Quan commanded respect through his administrative skill. As the winter of 208 settled in, Cao Cao's immense army began its relentless southward campaign. The earth groaned under the immense weight of hundreds of thousands of soldiers, cavalry, and engineers, accompanied by a parade of siege engines and supply wagons. Reports from scouts described a serpent-like procession that spanned over 50 miles, a metallic snake winding through the heart of the Chinese countryside. Wherever they marched, clouds of smoke billowed from devastated granaries and obliterated villages. Cao employed the age-old strategy of living off the land, seizing what he required and laying waste to what he deemed unnecessary. Psychological warfare accompanied this brutality, sowing seeds of despair and helplessness. Messengers rushed to the courts of Liu Bei and son Quan with alarming updates about Cao's overwhelming strength. Advisors debated the appropriateness of immediate surrender in the face of such overwhelming odds, while others proposed fleeing southward in a desperate bid to save their lives and avoid the catastrophe that loomed ominously. A heavy pall of impending doom hung over the alliance like a physical weight upon their shoulders. Yet in this darkest hour, ancient Chinese wisdom concerning the forces of fate known as Feng Shui began to reveal its profound significance. Feng Shui, literally translating to wind and water, represented a belief system deeply rooted in the understanding that invisible energies flow through the natural world. The ancient practitioners believed that the arrangement of natural and constructed elements, mountains, rivers, buildings, and even armies could either harness or disrupt these cosmic energies. As Cao Cao's forces prepared for battle at the northern banks of the Yangtze, Scholars in Liu Bei's court began closely examining the omens. They noted how the Yangtze flowed from west to east, channeling the life force vital to the region. Cao's army, advancing from the north, would inevitably confront this powerful river, disturbing the natural flow of Qi essence that sustains all life. Additionally, winter's arrival ushered in specific wind patterns, unchanged for centuries, that could be wielded effectively by a tactically astute commander. One name included among Liu Bei's advisors quickly rose to prominence: Zhuge Liang, often referred to as the Sleeping Dragon. His reputation for uncanny wisdom and astute observation surpassed that of his contemporaries. Unlike other generals who relied heavily on conventional tactics, Zhuge Liang understood that victory often lay beyond the battlefield itself. Tethered to the mystical forces that govern the universe, as Cao Cao's massive force approached, Zhuge Liang dedicated his nights to studying ancient texts on astronomy and meteorology. Grasping the significance of the upcoming winter solstice, a time when cosmic energies shifted dramatically. With Cao Cao's forces erecting a formidable naval presence, they requisitioned every vessel, barge, and fishing boat within hundreds of miles, while carpenters and blacksmiths worked tirelessly to create ships and adapt weapons for naval warfare. An awe-inspiring sight emerged. Thousands of vessels bristled with weaponry, creating an impressive citadel afloat. However, this massive assembly faced a crucial drawback. Despite possessing unparalleled numbers, Cao's army predominantly consisted of cavalry soldiers unaccustomed to maritime combat. The Yangtze, with its turbulent currents and unpredictable weather, was a mighty waterway nearly a mile wide, imposing obstacles for any cavalry force expecting traditional battlefields. To counter this vulnerability, Cao's engineers devised what they deemed a brilliant maneuver: chaining ships together with iron links to form floating platforms. This formation aimed to provide stability on the water for his land-based warriors. The largest ships stationed themselves in the center, like petals surrounding the center of a flower. From a distance, the chained fleet appeared unassailable, a fortress of wood and iron, seemingly capable of withstanding any onslaught. However, to the Feng Shui masters observing from the southern banks, this method exposed a fundamental flaw in Cao's grasp of natural forces. By linking ships together, Cao had inadvertently weakened his position. He disrupted the Yangtze's natural flow, causing stagnation where movement should have prevailed. In Feng Shui philosophy, this became a dam to his own Qi, fostering negative energy within his fleet. As events unfurled, it became evident this confrontation would not merely determine the fate of armies, but could also resonate through the spiritual heritage of China itself. Ancient forces began to mobilize, wind patterns shifted, and cosmic energy swirled in anticipation of the impending clash. Among the Southern Alliance, Zhuge Liang's military insight shone brightly, illuminating the battlefield while also showcasing the weight of destiny. The once formidable chain fleet appeared exposed, its banners flapping rhythmically as the chilling winter breeze swept through the landscape. But unlike Cao, who underestimated the river, Zhuge Liang possessed an intimate knowledge of the Yangtze itself, having grown up along its banks. As the standoff between the two fleets unfolded across the shadowy waters, strange omens began to manifest, further heightening the tension. Fishermen reported bizarre cloud formations resembling dragons, while birds circled ominously as if marking the fleet for destruction. The river's surface transformed, taking on an oily sheen, unnervingly distorted under the pale winter sun. Observing these signs, Zhuge Liang grew increasingly convinced that cosmic forces aligned to vanquish Cao. In ancient Chinese belief, such phenomena were never mere coincidences. They bore messages from the heavens, forewarnings of nature's imminent reassertion with devastating consequences. Cao, in his hubris, had stationed his fleet in direct contradiction to the seasonal winds and cosmic currents regulating the sacred waterway, positioned at a bend in the river where waters naturally flowed eastward toward the sea. His chained vessels caused the current to stagnate, trapping misfortune within. This miscalculation clashed fundamentally with every principle of harmonious placement known to veteran generals. By December, the atmosphere shimmered with an impending change. The wind patterns became erratic, an unsettling calm enveloping both fleets. For generations, winter winds had consistently swept down from the northwest, granting ships stationed on the northern bank an advantage against their southern foes. But now, an unearthly stillness hung thick in the air, leaving the waters smooth and bronze-like. Seasoned sailors exchanged nervous whispers, recognizing the signs of a climate that had never before borne witness to such a tranquility. The river held its breath. Amid this tranquility, Zhuge wrestled with his calculations, cross-referencing ancient prophecies with celestial charts. Knowing the winter solstice would soon arrive, the moment when the cosmic balance tipped toward renewal. However, this would be an extraordinary year. The alignment of celestial bodies was rare, occurring perhaps once in decades. Such alignments were thought to amplify natural forces exponentially. Wind patterns could alter abruptly, currents could change course, and spiritual energy could shift dramatically. Seizing upon this revelation, Zhuge recognized the opportunity that lay ahead. Should the celestial event coincide with their engagement, the Southern Alliance might leverage supernatural forces. However, harnessing these energies would necessitate extraordinary timing and a leap of faith into the ineffable. Preparing faithfully, the Southern commanders devised an audacious plan. Traditional warfare would now serve them poorly against Cao's vast numbers and impenetrable fortress. Instead, they resolved that fire fueled by shifting winds and the brittle timber from the north could be their most effective weapon. Their bold strategy required a small fleet of vessels laden with combustibles to be strategically directed into the heart of Cao's chained armada. The success of this operation would hinge entirely upon wind direction. Though winter winds ordinarily blew from the northwest, Zhuge confidently professed that cosmic forces would soon reverse this pattern. At the moment of celestial alignment, he predicted that winds would shift, propelling fire directly into the enemy's ranks while sparing the southern forces. This daring gambit defied conventional logic. It hinged on the belief that celestial energies could be manipulated. As the Southern Alliance finalized preparations, phenomena continued to enliven the atmosphere surrounding both fleets. The water began to glow unnaturally at night, resembling ghostly flames flickering beneath the surface. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of fish floated lifelessly, arranged in formations resembling ancient Chinese characters. An unsettling omen, signaling the agitation of nature. Most foreboding were the recurrent dreams experienced by soldiers from both camps' visions of a magnificent dragon emerging from the river's depths, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly blaze. Zhuge and the Feng Shui masters interpreted these signs as irrefutable evidence that the river itself had awakened. Angered by the disruption of its natural flow, they posited that the dragon of the Yangtze, a powerful symbol of strength and resilience, was rising to reclaim its domain from the trespassers who dared to challenge its sanctity. As the stage prepared for the violent clash, the spiritual forces aligned, poised to release their fury upon the impending conflict at Red Cliffs. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to support our work and never miss an upload. Like, comment, and share.